You finally hit the milestone. You open the email, read the offer letter, and see the numbers in black and white. A $20,000 jump, taking you from $100,000 a year to $120,000. Fast forward exactly 1 year. Despite this significant influx of capital, this earner is experiencing higher levels of financial stress than before. Their credit card balance is hovering near the limit, and their savings account hasn't grown at all. This happens because we confuse two entirely different concepts. Salary is just cash flow, the volume of money passing through your hands. Wealth is your retained assets, the money you actually keep. Earning a high salary only gives you the mathematical capacity to build wealth. But before that new money can ever reach a savings or investment account, it has to run a gauntlet of psychological traps designed to intercept it. To understand exactly where those $20,000 vanished, we have to examine the chronological timeline of human psychology. Day 1. The ink is barely dry on the new contract. Almost instantly, your brain demands a reward. You worked hard for this promotion. You put in the late nights, so you tell yourself, I deserve a treat. This behavioral phenomenon is heavily documented. Looking at this paper on the economics of immediate gratification, we can see how the human brain constantly sabotages its own long-term interests in favor of a quick reward. Focusing on page 239, this equation models what researchers call time-inconsistent preferences. The math proves that we are biologically wired to prioritize a small, fleeting pleasure right now over a larger, compounding reward in a future. By month 1, the timeline shifts. You stop buying small daily treats and start committing to structural lifestyle upgrades. You sign a lease on a premium apartment. You finance a luxury car. Financial psychologist Brad Klontz traced the root of these decisions back to money scripts, unconscious beliefs about money formed in childhood that quietly dictate our financial behaviors as adults. This diagram shows how these scripts box in a person's financial comfort zone. The most active script here is money status, which tricks the ego into equating your intrinsic self-worth with your visible net worth. The pressure to look rich to your peers actively destroys the mathematical ability to actually be rich. We reach month 6. The new car smell has faded. The apartment is now just the place you sleep. The thrill of the new income stream has evaporated. This chart shows a biological process called hedonic adaptation. When you upgrade your lifestyle, you experience a sharp spike in happiness, but your brain quickly recalculates, downgrading that luxury into a standard, required baseline need. As you chase that initial dopamine hit, your monthly expenses creep upward. Slowly, the cost of living rises until it matches the new $120,000 salary, leaving zero margin. At year 1, we reach the mathematical consequence of lifestyle creep, the savings rate drop. Looking at this breakdown, if you saved 10% of your old $100,000 salary, you retained $10,000. If you spend your entire $20,000 raise, your saving rate actually drops from 10% down to 8%. Your wealth building power has been diminished despite your higher pay. Without an intentional intervention, human biology will always work to inflate your lifestyle to match your income. To break this cycle, we must spin the timeline back to day 1 of the raise. Success requires decoupling earning from spending. The very first behavioral solution is automation. You set up a system that takes 20% of your new raise and routes it directly into an investment account before it ever reaches your checking account. This routing removes the reliance on human willpower. You cannot spend money you never see, which ensures that the savings happen before the I deserve it impulse can take hold. This pie chart illustrates the second solution, capping fixed costs. To neutralize status scripts, you lock your structural expenses, like housing and transportation, at 50% of your income, even as your total earnings grow. Strictly limiting these permanent drains ensures that the majority of your raise is working toward your long-term wealth, rather than your monthly bills. Fast forwarding to year 1 under this automated system, the reality is entirely different. You have a substantial margin of financial safety and a net worth that is actively compounding. Breaking the high salary paradox doesn't mean living in misery or cutting out every joy in your life. It operates on the principle of conscious spending. You ruthlessly cut costs on things you don't actually value, which allows you to spend generously on the things you genuinely love. This replaces the illusion of wealth, driven by social pressure, with the actual security of financial independence. Ultimately, the money that remains in your accounts provides a level of security that status symbols never will, turning a temporary raise into a permanent position of strength.